There are so many ways to cook with cast iron. You're making things that can last 100 years or more treated properly. You live in a really special place here. Being a cook, being someone who's fed somebody all my life, it's always nice just to get right to the source. How many years have you been making
Soft shell? Oh, most of my life.
You told me once, I think we're both called the professor.
You're Professor Barbecue and I'm Professor Cast Iron.
So what compelled you to learn how to make cast iron?
I think it's different once you become a manufacturer. You know, when you're...
That's even a bigger question. How did you become a manufacturer?
Well, families are important and family possessions are important. And I, in spite of reconditioning cast iron for the restaurant industry, I mean, I cooked my food in my grandmother's pan because it meant something to me to touch the place that my grandmother put her hand. And I lived out here on an island in the Choptank River, and I dropped it one morning, pouring bacon fat out, and it broke. And so for me, that was the start of that question, you know, why things were made the way they were. I spent several years just traveling around the country. I'd be in my truck, you know, driving around to foundries, and I'd have a pan in my briefcase, and I would have my set of specifications, and the specification would say it has to be 0.09375 in wall thickness because we want it that light, and it has to be less than 90 RA, roughness average, because we want it that smooth. And I would drive around and I would go to the foundry and I would say, here's my specifications, can you make this? And they would say, we can't do that any longer. It takes time. That process of making each mold for each pan takes several weeks. We're achieving smoothness with that slow process of making the mold.
So in modern day times, with all the changes, you went back in time to old processes
4,000 years old
to develop cast iron cookware.
Mm-hmm.
It's very versatile. You can cook it on the stove, you can cook it over the fire, you can put it in the oven.
Yep. You know, it's taken me a long time to learn that cooks cook with their hands.
So I use all my senses when I'm cooking. I'll listen for the sizzle of the pan.
Yeah, the sizzle.
All right, so what are we doing here?
All we're going to do is put butter in.
You hear that?
That's good.
It's talking to you.
That's getting there.
What I like about these pans, there's so many layers to it. One is I like, what'd you call it, the helping handle?
Yeah.
So nice when, like, you know, if you're cooking something that might have some weight to it.
Yeah.
You know, or you're taking it from the stove down into the oven. Oh man, that smells so good.
Butter and crab. What could be better?
For me, I think the reason I lean on cast iron cooking so much is getting that, I want to say getting that pan kind of charged up with that thermal load, but then it just becomes just a really consistent, even.
What'd you call it before? You said controlling the energy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great way of putting it, because that's really what this is stored energy in the pan. And you don't have that because copper and aluminum and steel transfer that energy differently than cast iron does. And so, I mean, that's exactly
I just think it smooths out the hot spots, if you will.
Well, it does.
It's got to be really cool to make something that somebody could be cooking on 100 years from now.